Hello out there again. We welcome you to this edition of Marriage Talk with Jacob
and LaShawn.
So last week we started with a new series of how agreement makes the marriage work.
Yes.
And this is actually part 2.
Yes.
And we talked about my book a whole lot on last week. We're actually going to be coming from this book again.
Yes.
This week right here. To purchase this book, it's on Amazon. Just go in and type in Jacob Jenkins, The Process of Transformation,
Yes.
Life After Substance Abuse.
Yes.
Both of these books will come up. This book right here is The Process of Transformation, Life After Substance Abuse. This book right here
is The Process of Transformation, The Process for Change Study Guide. And you should be able to purchase it in paperback and also in Kindle format for those of us who like to use the Kindle. So today our topic is going to come from chapter
number 7, and we're going to talk about the how and the why.
Yes.
Agreement makes the marriage work.
Yes.
Now, why is pretty simple.
Yes.
Why is why agreement makes the marriage work? Because we can accomplish so much more
Yes.
working together
Yes.
than working as two single individuals
Right.
the way we operated before we got married.
Exactly.
So the why is very important because we
Yes.
want to accomplish some things
Right.
as husband and wife, and the only way we gonna be able to do that is we have to be in agreement.
Yes, absolutely. It makes the process so much easier. And then of course we have we're focused in on the same thing, and it just makes it a whole lot more easier, and we're able to get things done.
And so what we want to talk more about right now on part 2
Yes.
is the how.
Yes.
How do I go about, doing this? And so in chapter number 7, and I talked about this on last week, chapter number 7 in the book talks about the power of agreement in marriage. And it's packed with scriptures that we are not going to go into the scriptures, but I do have 10 practical tips, 10 practical principles, I guess. They're going to come up under agreement.
Yes.
That you can actually practically practice to make this principle of agreement work. And the first one in the book is you got to know your self-worth first. When you come into any relationship,
Yes.
especially marriage, I got to know who I am, and you got to know who you are.
Absolutely.
And you got to know what you bring into the table.
Right. I mean, and so knowing your self-worth, it helps to eliminate figuring that, I'm here and he's there, or he's there and I'm here. So you have to know your self-worth, and you have to know that, what, I am actually worth something. I wasn't created by mistake.
Right.
I was designed
Self-awareness.
Right, purposely by God. I was on his mind, and so were you. So, you have to know what your self-worth is.
Right. You want to read number 2?
Yes, so number 2 is honor the authenticity that both of you bring, the merging of two great entities.
That's pretty much goes to what we were talking about. It brings the example, if two companies merge together.
Yes.
When they come together and they are going through the blueprints and the plan on these two companies merging and coming together,
Right.
Both companies, both organizations bring things that's authentic
Right.
about that independent that particular company that they're going to put on the table.
Right.
No one comes to the table and say, well, we're going to merge together, but I really don't have anything to offer.
Right. So I mean, when companies merge, just like when relationships are and people get together, there are some things about you that you bring, and then there's some things about that individual that they bring. And so what it is you bring those together, and that's why you have to know your self-worth. You bring those two things together, and you're able to work as one unit together. But of course, you have to understand that you're authentic. So no two people are alike. And so that's the reason why, you have to honor that both of you are bringing something to the table.
Number 3 says we have to protect the bond of teamwork that starts with commitment. And a couple of weeks ago we talked about commitment.
Yes.
And we talked about the different areas that commitment starts in the heart. The Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Yes.
So commitment starts in the heart. Commitment is tested by action. So words are cheap. I can say anything, but I gotta back up whatever I'm saying with action. And then the third one is that commitment opens the door to achievement. And so it's number 3 is protect the bond of teamwork. We got to protect the bond of teamwork. In other words, we got to make sure that we ain't trying to make the marriage work independently of the other person. We got to make sure that whatever we are doing as a team, and we are honoring each other gifts. That I bring this here, but you bring this right here. Number 4.
Respect each other's point of views on each subject. So, that's really big. So like I said, no two people agree, but then I have to respect your point of view. So I have to respect that the way you feel is subjective to the way I feel, and vice versa. That means that I may not, agree, but I have to
even understand.
But then I have to still respect.
That's right.
That's your point of view, and then that's just how you see it on the subject matter. However, with discussion and with time and review, then maybe you might be able to see what I'm trying to explain, and then vice versa. But then you have to be able to respect that and not, shut the person down. Well, I don't want to hear your point of view. My point of view is the only point of view that matters. It's a forever settled subject. So you don't want to, bring that approach. You want to respect that. If that's how you feel about that, I understand. That's your personal feelings, and I have to respect that.
And what I've seen over time is when I came with a point of view and you may have not understood it at that moment or agree with it, and we might have flowed it or tabled it until another day or whatever. After I thought about it, it was like, no, you know what? She is right on this right here. And I didn't see what she was saying, but after, we flowed it or tabled it, and now we can think about it. It's like, okay, she didn't understand it, but I really didn't understand where she was coming from with it. But now I do.
And vice versa. I mean, I had to do that a couple times too, where my point of view wasn't always right. But then after thinking about it, and just saying, what, let's just contemplate both of the issues. Let's bring both point of views together, and then what? You might have a point. Let's try it out.
Number 5 says, go the extra mile to complete every task. Go the extra mile to complete every task. In other words, in our relationship, I got to make sure that I'm giving 110%, and you got to make sure that you're giving 110%. But sometimes I may have to give a little bit more, or sometimes you may have to give a little bit more, but it's okay, because it's about the betterment of the team. And when the team win, regardless of the fact that I gave a little bit more than you, or you gave a little bit more than me, the team still win. And that's the most important thing, is that we as a team win, not just with me and you, but even when Sheldon and Amber was real small, we won as a family. So it was a win-win situation.
And so you want to make sure that you keep the task at hand. In other words, you want to make sure that we're not keeping score here. But we have a task that we want to complete, and that means that if I have to go that extra mile just to get it done, then I go that extra mile. I'm not doing it just for me. I'm doing it for us as a unit, as a team.
And that's one of the topics we're going to talk about down the line, some weeks down the line, and that's keeping score. Not keeping score makes the marriage work. But we're going to talk about that right now. Number 6 says, never do business with anyone without both people being present. Because if I value your opinion, and then sometimes especially with men, we are focus driven, so we may be just looking at the task that's at hand,
Right.
whereas
Right.
you're looking at the task at hand, but you're looking at what may be on the right side or the left side, and I'm not looking at that. So if I do business about whatever it is without you, I can miss something
Sure.
that you will catch it.
Right, and I mean that's why it's really good when making decisions to have both parties, and even if you don't have both parties, you can decide that let me give you an answer on that after I decide or I talk with my spouse, because I want to be able to have you listen or look at whatever it is that we're about to be a part of. And I want to get your point of view on it. Kind of goes back to number 4, I think. But the thing about it is, I don't want to make rational decisions and then not count up all the costs.
Right.
Because if you don't count all the costs, you have to realize that it's going to impact us as a unit. So what we want to do, I want to this is a good idea, but I need to make sure the timing is right, and I need to make sure this is something that me and my spouse or me and my significant other agree on.
Right. Now I like number 7 a whole lot. Number 7 says, as couples, never have your disagreements in the presence of others.
Yes.
Never have your disagreement in the presence of company or in the presence of others. When we are making decision, if we don't come to agreement then we need to get back to that. We need to flow it, we need to table it, come back, and then me and you go discuss it as partners. Then we'll come back if someone else is involved in this decision that we need to make.
Right, and I mean, your disagreements should not be had in the front of your children. It shouldn't be had in the front of friends or family. And you have to be mature enough to know that, even if it's something y'all need to leave, we need to leave right now. We need to take care of something. Then you need to do that, but you shouldn't air out your differences in the front of people, because then things are said and feelings are hurt, and it can really cause an issue, because once words go out, you can't bring them back, and so you should not air your differences among folks. That's a private issue and a private matter that people in relationships should always be conscious of. I don't care what it is. You don't want to have an argument on the porch, in the street, at your mom's house. That you just shouldn't air your differences among people. That should be a private matter.
Now, one thing I do agree with, that your children should see you guys disagreeing about a subject. They should not see you disrespecting each other, but you want them to understand in relationships, the relationship is not going to be perfect, but the relationship could be healthy. And one of the ways that relationship is being healthy is that I get an opportunity to see mom and dad that they don't agree on everything, and they voice their opinion about it, but they never disrespected each other. He voiced his opinion, she voiced her opinion. They ain't been hollering and spitting up in each other's face, and now it got physical, but they disagreed, and then everything, they just went on, and everything still was peaceful. They need to see that, because as they develop their own relationship, it's going to happen. But I need to know how to handle it, and I need to know that I can have a disagreement with my wife without disrespecting her, and vice versa. My mom disagreed with my dad, but she never disrespected him as the head of the family. They need to see that. Otherwise, then they're looking at false intention. They're looking at what relationships really is not about, where we always agree on everything, and that's just not how it's set up.
And I mean, they shouldn't see their father or male figure, disrespect their mom, So, it can teach them how, in the right way, how to deal with differences or disagreements, whether they be at school, whether they're on their jobs or they're in society, they would know how to handle a disagreement.
Number 8 says, confrontation of issues is a must. In other words, we need to confront those issues.
Right.
And it goes on to say, never just sweep it under the rug.
Right.
We need to confront those things we don't understand.
Right.
Don't just put it up under the rug and say, well, we don't want to deal with that.
Right.
You know, I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
You know, and in the early part of our relationship, you know, when we did have a disagreement, I didn't want to talk about it, so I just left.
Right.
You know, and I might have been gone for a day or two because I don't want to deal with it. And then when I did come back, we still got into it because you want to talk about it, but I'm like, she still want to talk about this right here. This is why I left.
Right.
But then I found out, which was another reason I placed this in my book in chapter number 7, is that as teammates, we got to talk about it. Even when we don't see it the way the other one see it, we don't understand it. It's something you don't like. It's something I don't like. The way we bring healing to that is we got to talk about it. So confronting those issues is a must.
So confrontation, you know, is it's okay to have, but there's a way to confront. So, you know, it says confrontation of issues is a must. Never just sweep it under the rug. So if you can, you know, just kind of think about that and envision it. You know, if you continue to sweep things under a rug, well, you end up with a big old bump. And at some point, somebody's going to trip over it. And then at that point, you have to pull it back because you need to move whatever's under there. So in other words, you still have to deal with it at some point in time. So, you know, instead of sweeping it under the rug, you know, and just letting it bull up, just go ahead and sit down like two adults and confront the issue. Just have those talks that I know are hard, but they're definitely necessary.
Right. Number 9 says, make it a habit to encourage each other as much as possible. Make it a habit. It shouldn't be just a one-time thing, but it needs to be a habit to encourage each other as much as possible.
So you know, when it comes to encouraging, you know, Jacob is my biggest encourager, and I look for that support and encouragement from him because I spend, you know, most of my time with him. But not only that, he sees me as in my most intimate times, and that's not vulnerable, you know, And so it's not, you know, when I say intimate, not in the bed, but emotionally. So, you know, I look for encouragement from him, and so and same thing with me to him. I'm always trying to encourage him, you know, just like if I have to correct something or confront something, I have no issue doing that. But I certainly look, you know, for encouragement from him, but I also reciprocate that. I make sure that I encourage him and whatever he's doing, because encouragement is needed. Sometimes we just need to hear that, hey, you're doing a good job as a husband, as a father, or as a son, or, you know, you're doing a great job. You know, we look for that encouragement. It actually helps us.
And it brings us to number 10. Number 10 says, make it a habit to celebrate each other's gift. Make it a habit to celebrate each other's gift and never tolerate what you don't understand. Make it a habit to celebrate each other's gifts and never tolerate what you don't understand. You know, and we talked about some weeks ago about, you know, in 1 Peter, where the Bible tells me that I'm supposed to deal with you according to knowledge. And you look that word up, you know, that word means that I need to know you experimentally. In other words, I need to study you so I can understand you. I know your gifts. You know, your gifts, you have gifts that are different from me, which means in this relationship, in this team, even though God, my position is a position of authority, you know, that doesn't mean that I need to be doing everything. You know, God placed a woman there with a great responsibility. You got gifts on the inside of you that's very much needed for the relationship. But if I don't know that, and I don't never compliment you on that, and I don't never say, no, this one is for you,
Yeah.
then, we are encouraging each other.
Right.
Right. And then the second part of it says, never tolerate what you don't understand.
Right.
I'm not going to just go along with something. You might say, hey, what about this? Just because you're my wife, I don't understand that. Help me to understand this right here, so I can know why we doing whatever we are doing and why you said whatever you said.
Right. And so, some people say, well, you just go along to get along, but then again, that causes resentment.
Right.
And so, it causes contention in the relationship. So, you should not, just say, hey, I just, I accept it. And I'm just not going to question it. You should have the right, and you should be able to have the freedom, to not tolerate something that you don't understand, because I can just ask you, hey, can you explain to me our reasoning, your reason for wanting to do that, but if I can understand, then I could better support whatever it is that you might feel that we may need to do, but to just get along, go along to get along, that actually, that doesn't work very long.
Right. It just sounds real cliches.
Yeah, like a cliche, people say, I just go along to get along,
Right.
And so, those things, eventually at some point, after a while, resentment just builds up, and then of course it blows out of proportion.
And all of this has everything to do with communication, which is what we're going to be talking about on next week. We're going to be talking about how communication makes the marriage work. We've got to communicate, especially when we have issues, ideas that we don't understand. We got to communicate, about these things. And so again, this is chapter number 7 in my book, The Process of Transformation. This chapter is entitled The Power of Agreement in a Marriage. Was very beneficial, for me and for you. The verse of scripture that we came from was Matthew, the 18th chapter, verses number 19 and verse number 20. It's a principle. If you practice the principle, it will work.
Yes, so if you've been blessed, by our teachings today, we can also be found on Facebook as well as YouTube. And let us know. And if you have any questions, or comments, send them to us. And we appreciate you allowing us to be able to share with you and to impart into your relationships and your marriages. And again, the book is The Process of Transformation, and you can go to Amazon and you can purchase the book in paperback, or you may purchase it in the Kindle format, and it'll bless your life. And it's just just a kind of like a snap or a window of Jacob's and my life, and how God has really changed us and improved us as people in our relationship and our marriage.
And if you are in the Charlotte area and you want it right now, you can email me at jjenkins@freshstartresource.org. That's jjenkins@freshstartresource.org. Leave me a contact number. I'll call you and I'll get the book to you. The book is $15 for the set. This one right here is Life After Substance Abuse, the story. This book right here is the study guide that you can actually write in the book. Read a chapter and do some meditation and just write in the book. It will be a blessing. And so until next week, you guys be blessed out there.
Be blessed.
Thank you.